Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Audible Waters podcast. I'm your host, Ralph Jesperson. Today I go over a dream I had this year, which is related, I believe, to other dreams I've had that I've been going over for more than the last month now, and other videos you can find on this channel. But this one, I am sure, is about things that have started and are already in play and is a clear warning of events that will happen because of political realities going on inside the U.S. On the morning of March 12th, 2025, I had a dream that appears to me now as a direct response communication from God regarding a dream that was shared with me the previous night by a friend that he said he had seen about 2 weeks right after the last general election. When I went to bed, I asked God to confirm to me if this shared dream was from him, and I believe it is, as I've had a dream about the severity of the times that we have already entered into. So, here is my dream in a form that you can read, or listen to, or both.
I dreamt that I was young and I had my woman with me, and we went on a camping trip to an area of the desert north of the Phoenix area where I spent the greatest chunk of my life. There was a convoy of many cars and it was getting late, so we stopped to set up camp. There were mountains to the north, and we were not familiar with the roads that may or may not exist beyond us going up through them. In real life many years ago I bought a used Nissan truck that was red after I first started working. In the dream, I had this, but it was four-wheel drive instead of the two-wheel drive that I actually owned for many years. Late in the day, as everyone was setting up camp and preparing to sleep, we saw smoke rising to the south along the road that we had driven up. The flames could be seen as it was approximately a little over a mile away. Winds were to the north or towards us, and I suggested we should break camp, for this was close enough to be dangerous, but the general attitude of everyone else is that they were all tired and sleepy and that there was plenty of time to deal with this in the morning, so everyone went to sleep. I tried to sleep but could not. Then I saw a sudden surge in the wind blow the fire right past us. It was our final warning, as most of the brush around us did not catch fire. But it was obvious to me that it was now or never, so I got up, grabbed my things and began yelling and trying to wake the others that were still sleeping to pack up quick and run. I had to walk some distance as the truck was parked further down the road than I had thought. I ran to my truck with my woman, and she got into the truck first. I told her to move to the passenger seat so I could get in and get the truck started and get the hell out of here. The truck had signs of scorching from the flames on the paint, but it was still intact. I started it, and pulled out, and headed north away from the fire, which was right behind me. I drove up the road a little while into a canyon. The road stopped abruptly at a building that I took for some kind of federal park. We got out of the truck and knocked on the door, and an employee answered. We explained to him the perilous situation, but he told us that road dead-ended here and there was nowhere to go, no road out of the canyon but the one we had driven on. I thought that there was a dirt road that headed up the mountains past the real desert mountain lakes that do exist north of Phoenix. But they told me that this road did not connect to that road I was thinking of. I started to panic and wondered if my truck would fit through this door, for there had to be somewhere to go. But the door was too narrow, and this was crazy panic talk. There was no road on the back end of this building. So we hopped back into the truck to look for an alternative. There was a four-wheel drive road heading east, and we started down it. We drove a short ways and it looked like it dead-ended as well, but I saw a railroad track ahead. So I thought about driving onto the tracks, for they must go somewhere. But then though that is not safe. What if I get stuck on it on a narrow cliff embankment, and there is a train coming and nowhere to go? Then I thought, but there is a fire behind me. If I do not use the tracks, I am dead anyway, and with a fire in the area, the trains most certainly will not come because the track should be closed. Then I woke up in the middle of this internal argument of what to do next.
So, what do I make of this dream? In late June 2008, I had two dreams that I did interpret as a warning God was giving me that a recession was coming very soon. A few weeks later, that news hit major media sites. In the last of those two dreams, I was driving my old truck again. This time it was after I had it painted blue. I knew something was wrong as I was driving along, so I pulled over on an on-ramp to a major highway in northern Arizona. I walked around a hill that was blocking the view and saw that the bridge was washed out and that no one was stopping traffic. So I turned around and started trying to wave down traffic before they went around that hill and drove off into the now non-existent bridge. I took this as a direction to share what I had just seen as a warning in real life, and I did just that. In this dream, the truck appears again, this time in its original color and changed to a 4x4 as it appears that it is what I need this time for this dream. And again, I am warning people about the disaster. First, that it is not safe to make camp where we had, and then to actually get out at the last moment. This is the same directive I had some 17 years ago. So I am saying that the time is short and bad times are coming on the US again and the whole world. So I implore you to not close your eyes and pretend that the bad news that can now be seen by anyone does not exist. It is time to get moving, whatever that means in regards to what God is telling you personally to do about this. And I hope that you are hearing him at this time, for we all really need that right now. I think the basic message is the same this time, that another very bad recession is starting. This is not a flood that knocks a bridge out, but a wildfire that is out of control. Those things are very different. As I have been saying now for quite a few months, the world economy has been quite shaky after the pandemic. I have been noting that as I have kept a close eye on the many stats that exist in the group of financial statistics, that certain things that happened in the 2006 and 2007 years have been repeating recently, with current warning signs in many different of the data sets. And it has been, I think, a record amount of time between recessions since the last one occurred and ended 14 years ago. On average, we should have had another one during this time and gotten over it and be prepped for a second one right about now. You do not have to have any special revelation from God to recognize the things I just said. You just have to look at the dates, the years that the prior recessions have occurred. I also think that we ended up in a federal park of all places, and that is another important hint. Look at just what the federal government is now doing and how in this future they will not be able to help the common people like us at all. I spoke of a dream that a friend shared with me the day before I had this dream. The timing of his dream was about big problems coming to our country because of whom we chose to be our president. Now, I have been for some time now an independent voter, and I have increasingly seen the futility of both major parties in the U.S. I can currently, with a good conscience, support neither. And I would really prefer not to have to vote for any of the candidates that they put up, for I see them as unwise and highly corrupt in their character. So, what I'm about to say does not come from a preference bias for one party over the other. I recognize the wildfire to be about our current president and all of his members in his administration. The leader is technically a convicted criminal who was accused of a sex crime and was found guilty. This is not something good to me, regardless of whatever party he might be in. If he were still in the opposite party, promoting very different things, but still had the same criminal character and history, that would change nothing whatsoever for me. On top of that, there are many signs of senility going on with him in his advanced age. The signs are different from our last, also senile president, but senility takes multiple different forms. And I have seen senility up close as my sister in law died from Alzheimer's a couple of years ago. The two combined together to make this most powerful man very dangerous. God sees the future and all of what this man and those around him will eventually do. We have a past and a future we cannot access right now as humans. But God is not trapped inside our space time, so he exists now and in our past and in our future. I understand that God is the I am at every point in time for us. He has no past or future in the ways specifically that we experience them. All of our time is in the present for our God. And so he knows the future better than we can remember the recent past. God needs no time traveling ship, for he is everywhere in time just as much as he is everywhere in space. Many are talking about all the bad things our current president is doing right now. So I feel no need to go into any specifics here, as either you pay attention to those things independently of me, or you voted for the crook and are currently sticking your head in the sand and ignoring reality. In this, I can change no one's mind, and I'm not going to try to do so, for that is a futile effort. But I am convinced, as I said, that this man who promised to drain a swamp but has only managed to make it bigger than it has ever been will, in his malignant narcissism and senility, make more choices that make things much, much worse for the average American. The senility means that he has less self control than ever and does not understand what he is doing or what those choices will ultimately lead to. He is under the control by no one, and least of all by himself. Putting such a man in control of the nation's nukes and military is the stupidest thing I have seen done by the voting public in my lifetime. There are many ways that this can, and logically speaking, should go very wrong. The president and his administration is the wildfire burning out of control. The smoke and danger are becoming obvious to a majority of people, and I am hardly the only one sounding an alarm. The fact that I had no other choice than to follow a railroad track and hope for no oncoming trains points to how dangerous that these times will eventually become. The good news is that God is in our future, in His present. He knows what will happen, and He might have to stop our president, and can in a number of different ways, in order to prevent a future event that is simply too destructive in His sight. You need to seek God personally and start hearing His voice for yourself. And be prepared to ultimately make some extreme choices in the future. This might include even so much as abandoning a house or a job or making a run for it in some way that might not appear to be completely safe, except that it is God calling you to do that thing. I'm not telling you to do anything without seriously, personally seeking God first. I'm telling you to do that, to seek God first, and especially as things get more dangerous. Most people will just react in anger and or fear in this future, and that will not work out very well for them. Not being able to hear God's voice, as many self-proclaiming Christians are currently apparently not able to do, will prove absolutely fatal for some. I am convinced. I am here to point anyone who listens to this towards Jesus, the one who made you, and the one who is the King of Kings, high above our current wannabe kings, who trumps everyone. Many Christians have made an idol out of this trumper, and their idol will fail, for he is the opposite of Jesus Christ in really every part of his character. Politics is the big problem today. It is not a solution. The other party is also not up to handling what is coming. For the Christian, Jesus is the way, the truth, the life, and our only hope. But I have said enough for this one video. I am wrapping up this series of very bad news I have for you with this video. The next 2 weeks and the last two for this year, I have some better news and dreams I have had that I will share. And like the last 2 weeks, here is another one of the songs I made that is available on this link here of my instrumental Christmas Carol album. With that, I will wish you a very Merry Christmas, as Jesus is still the light of the world.